Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. I want to thank you for being with us tonight. Bombshell in the desperate search for a beautiful 3-year-old Florida girl, Caylee.
The record, I don't know what the gentleman's name, I still don't know. I'm sure you guys know by now. But I opened up the door, he said, "Whoa, that's big." I sat in the car for a second, opened up the passenger door, trying to vent that thing, and I smelled, I'm like, oh my God. I tried to start the car for a second, and I said, "No, George, there's something wrong. You got to find out now. You can't take it away." I told the guy, "Could you please walk around to the back of his car and look inside his equipment?" As I walked around, I don't believe I said to him in a loud mic, I think I whispered out to myself, that's what I thought. That's what my heart was there. Open it up, I started seeing that bag. I did see it staining. I think it's right about spare tires at basketball size or something around here. Yeah. The same freaking feeling that I did.
Every tip that we get that's out of state, the FBI follows up, not local agencies.
I mean, I'm not trying to get sick. I've been cool. Right now, I'm
We need to walk.
Here,
come on, let's go on a walk. We'll take a walk. All right.
Just recounting what he went through made grandfather George Anthony physically sick. George and Cindy Anthony taken aback when they learned their little girl, their little granddaughter, has been gone over a month before tot mom Caylee Anthony ever reveals it to them. Straight out to Mark Williams with WNDB News Talk 1150. What do we learn? You know, Mark, it's very rare that juries, much less us, the public, gets to hear the actual interviews that police make during their interrogation.
Well, Nancy, one thing about these bombshell audio tapes, it shows you a different side of George Anthony we didn't know existed. These explosive audio tapes just released, we'll hear them a little bit later on the show, are just mind-boggling. For example, he talks about pulling into the garage with his car. Actually, it was Casey's car. Cindy, his wife, coming out saying, and we're quoting, "Jesus Christ, what died? Was it the pizza?" Kind of contradicting herself. And George says, yeah, it's the pizza, knowing that it wasn't the pizza that was rotting in the back. Also, shockingly, they had to stop the interview with George Anthony at least once because he became physically ill when he was starting to think about the smell of death he received from the car and literally threw up right there in the investigator's office, Nancy.
I'm going to go straight out to Dr. Lillian Glass, psychologist and body language expert, author of I Know What You're Thinking. Dr. Glass, from my own experience after a violent crime, I remember the smell of food literally made me sick. What is the mind-body connection that when you are facing a tragedy, you literally get sick?
What happens is you relive the situation, and all of a sudden everything just explodes, literally, because you have gone through what's like a sense memory. You're reliving the whole situation, and so that's what really made him sick, the reality of the situation.
Joining me tonight, a famed medical examiner, Dr. Joshua Perper, out of the Miami jurisdiction. He's the author of When to Call the Doctor. Dr. Perper, it's great to see you. Thank you for being with us. Doctor, sure. Medically speaking, we hear George Anthony physically getting sick. He had to leave the interrogation. He got so sick, describing when he smelled the smell of death in the tot mom's car and his fear as they opened up the trunk. Please don't let it be Caylee. Please don't let it be Caylee in the trunk. What is the mind-body connection? Why does your body physically retch when you are upset or afraid or you hear shocking news?
Well, our body and our mind are really one unit. In the Western world, we divide between them. In the East, they recognize that they are one unit, and therefore, if you are upset, your parasympathetic system, nervous system, becomes involved, and people start to vomit. They become very pale. They become paralyzed sometimes. Those are reactions which you expect.
Dr. Perper, after many crime scenes and dead bodies I saw as a prosecutor, None of that, blood, you name it, never made me sick at all. But when it happened to me in my personal life, that made me sick. I think you're right. The way we view the mind-body connection is very, very separate. It's very compartmentalized. Everybody, we are taking your calls live, but first, let's listen to more of these police interrogation tapes. They are just released, and let me remind you, this is extremely rare, very unusual, that even a jury, much less the public, gets to hear actual police interrogations. Take a listen to grandfather George Anthony.
Where this is leading, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about that, but I had bad vibes the very first day when I got that car. I can be straight with you guys, and I hope it stays in the confines of us three. I don't want to believe that I have raised someone or brought someone in this world that could do something to another person. I don't want to believe that. If it happens, all I can do is ask. You guys can please call me so I can prepare my wife who's going to kill her.
When I first saw you that night, when I first came to your house, there was a mention of the car, and there was a mention of what you smelled in the car. Do you remember what you told me?
I believe that there's something that was dead back there. And I hate to say the word human. I hate to say that. When I first went there to pick up that vehicle, I got within 3 feet of it, I could smell something. You look up and you say, please don't let this be, please don't let this be. Because I'm thinking of my daughter and my granddaughter first. I glance in the car on the passenger side, I see her seats there, and I see some other stuff around in it. As I walk around to the driver's side and I put the key in it, I said, please don't let this be what I think it is. The record, I don't know what the gentleman's name, I still don't know. I'm sure you guys know by now. But as I opened up the door, he said, whoa, that stink. I said, I sat in the car for a second, opened up the passenger door because I was trying to vent that thing, and I smelled and I'm like, oh my God. I tried to start the car for a second, and I said, no, George, if there's something wrong, you got to find out now. You can't take it away. I told the guy, I said, would you please walk around to the back of this car and look inside this with me. As I walked around, I don't believe I said to him in a loud mic, I think I whispered out to myself, that's what I thought. That's what my heart was there. Open it up, I said, in my bag. I did see a stain. I think it's right about the spare tire gun. Basketball size or something around here.